in a prison with no hope for escape. I got used to the silence as I stuck.
Every time a new series becomes popular for their gameplay mechanics, story, level design, or structure, we get the pleasure of other developers taking a crack at that formula and kind of seeing what they can create there as using it as a base and essentially making something unique. We really saw this with the recent Souls series, as it started to spawn games that were very familiar to it and then started to create it in their own way. The Souls games do not hold you by the hand, especially while navigating its interconnected world that you can explore, and it has engaging and challenging combat. In 2017, we saw the guys that make the Ninja Gaiden series take a crack at it with Nioh and delivered a Souls-like gameplay experience within a fantasy-like feudal Japan setting. Later that year, we saw the release of The Surge that also wanted to take a crack at this formula. I wanted to make this video as a means to highlight The Surge one more time as a game from 2017 worth checking out. It felt like it got okay to good reviews, but never really got the attention that I think it deserved. I have had the opportunity to talk with the game on various subreddits, and The Surge has a dedicated and very welcoming community. With a sequel coming in 2019, I figured it was a great time to talk about the game again here. At its core, The Surge's enjoyment comes from its gameplay. The combat is very similar to a Souls game. These types of games have you focusing on and thinking about your attacks and movement, as almost anything can take away your stamina, and without your stamina, you can't pull off any of your attacks. But The Surge takes it one step further by not only having you manage a stamina bar, but you also need to manage an energy bar while you're fighting enemies. The energy bar is something that sets itself apart from other Souls games, as this energy is built as you continually hit enemies. As you accumulate energy, this can be used for quick health injections, and that can provide a nice quick health boost in many of the challenging fights. As you accumulate energy, this can be used for quick health injections that provide a nice health boost in some of the challenging encounters. Or you can order a sentry to attack a bunch of enemies, or place some buffs on your character so you're a little bit stronger. While you gain energy for hitting enemies, that energy cannot be stored for the long term. As you earn energy, your energy will slowly deplete. This means you cannot store up a large amount of energy and use it all in the next fight, giving you a large advantage over your opponent, but rather you need to manage it from fight to fight. This adds another layer to consider while in combat, as energy can help turn the tide in battle. High energy levels do not guarantee victory, but like everything else that aids you, you'll want to use it with the rest of your tools to help you succeed. There's another element that I like about the energy bar compared to the stamina system. In most of the other Souls games, when you attack, you're usually just using your stamina to execute moves. But while you're in the Surge, there's a bit of a trade-off. As you use your stamina to complete attacks, each successful hit nets the player with energy. And like I said before, that energy can be used to help the player. I like the idea of earning something within the short term to help you in the fight. In many instances, those energy-specific abilities really factor into your success. It is almost like the stamina and energy system work as a this for that relationship. As you use your stamina to attack, you'll gain energy to use in other areas. One of my favorite aspects of the game is how you acquire new gear. Essentially, as you're fighting enemies, you'll be able to select which body part you'd like to focus your attack on. As you damage an enemy and build up your energy bar, you'll be able to perform a takedown to instantly take out your opponent. If you select a body part with armor on it, you'll have a higher chance of ripping that armor leg off, and that will drop a new armor schematic for you. This is not only flashy and cool to pull off, but I like how the takedowns factor into how savage the world is within the game. In most RPGs, you'll acquire new equipment through exploring and picking it up off of dead bodies. In the Surge, if you want a new pair of pants, you just have to find that guy with those pair of pants that you want and then cut him in half. These takedowns never get old and they're continually fun to pull off. Since each enemy you face won't be fully armored, you'll have to sometimes go and search for enemies that have armor on specific body parts that you're looking for. Besides the fun combat, I think what drew me in, and like with many other players, was the setting and the atmosphere. I feel like the developers were smart in finding a visual style and setting to really set itself apart from other Souls-like games. If they had gone with a fantasy or even medieval style setting, I don't think the Surge would have really been able to distinguish itself visually from its competitors. I love those fantasy settings, but I'm happy that the Surge went with more of a sci-fi style. The idea of being in your own power armor attacking enemies is rather fun. While the story didn't blow me away, I did like the idea that you were fighting through these complexes and office buildings of a corporation gone bad. You kind of feel like you've shown up late to a very bad party.
All of us to sow those seeds, and it's up to us to nurture them towards growth. CREO is not just another company. With Project Resolve, we are building the path to the future. Follow us into a new era, a utopia for all mankind. With every launch, we're healing our planet, restoring its natural shield. A return to the green world we remember, where our children can once more play in the sun.
The game's armor, and at times the sense of isolation, did remind me a bit of Dead Space. The Surge doesn't go full horror, but there are some horror-like elements in there, and I appreciated them. Lastly, the game has a few boss fights, and while I wish there were more, there's one that occurs towards the middle of the game that I rather enjoyed. It was a challenging fight with a larger foe, and you had to really time your attacks to take them out. It was probably the most compelling boss fight experience I had in the game. While I don't think the Surge is the most revolutionary title, it is a good example of a developer improving on their first game. Their previous game, Lords of Fallen, was a similar Souls-like experience. I actually enjoyed the combat and my overall time with it, except for the fact that the game had some very persistent performance issues. I can usually tolerate a lot from my games, but what would happen here is it would frequently crash at random points, making me lose a lot of progress throughout the game. I was very cautious when I started the Surge, but after 40 hours I had a relatively smooth performance for my playthrough and an overall improvement from their last game. And that is something that should be recognized and celebrated. I like seeing developers take some level of risk within introducing a new game with no affiliation to any other brand or series, and they're essentially setting out on their own creating a new series. And I especially love to see a developer that improves from their prior game. This isn't always the case with many games, but I sure noticed it here. I see the Surge not only as a good game, but how the developer represents itself. This is a team that cares, and I look forward to their sequel. The Surge has its fair share of flaws, but it does successfully present a unique sense of acquiring new equipment through its use of dismemberment within combat and its unique setting. I do think that the game is underrated and worth checking out. Plus, the developer has released some free DLC even after they announced the sequel to the Surge. I look forward to the sequel, and I hope they continue to improve on their craft. This is most definitely worth trying. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of my other ones. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out my Patreon links at the end of this video and in the description down below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.
I was born in a prison